Hi, welcome to another episode of First Connect. This is a webcast that connects one Sunday to the next with people, places, ideas, church happenings, and things like that. So I'm Lance Brewer, this is Dave, and we're glad you joined us today. So Dave, tell me on the home front, what's been happening with you?
Man, it's been good. So as I said, I think last week we got moved into a new house.
Yep.
We just moved down South Crossover a little bit from where we were.
Yeah, you got new neighbors.
Paisley's,
Sisms, not too far away.
Sisms, the Tannerburgers are there.
Tannerburgers, that's true. Okay.
And it's been really fun to get to know people. It's a cool neighborhood to be in that like we'll be out in the street, we're playing with our kids, and people will walk by who haven't seen us before. They're like, "Hey, you're new," as though people in this neighborhood just know each other.
Okay,
and so
cool.
It's been pretty cool for us to get to know our neighbors in a way that, quite frankly, we really didn't in our last house. And it's been a goal for us, for Erica and me, to get to know our neighbors, so that we can begin to love our neighbors and to serve our neighbors. So we're just kind of early on to that, but we've made some early connections, and it's been pretty cool. How about you guys?
Well, I hope that works out better for you as you move into a new neighborhood than it really did for us. We love the neighborhood we're in. We got some great neighbors up there. Bogarts, Savages, great neighbors up there. But there's a lot of neighbors in our neighborhood that we've been there 7 years, and honestly, as Missy and I have been walking the streets over the past several weeks of just getting out and exercising and doing that, we've done that a little more routine right now. We've had that conversation of, wow, there's a lot of our neighbors that we don't know.
It can be so easy to just get sucked into your little cocoon, like your own world, right?
Yeah. So we're hoping to do a better job. We've been kind of, as we've been walking, we kind of pray for some of our neighbors and hoping for the opportunity to maybe make up some ground over time and connect with folks. So that's kind of a little bit of what's happened with us. A little more exercise routine and all. So you had an interview this past week. You did the interview with a couple of our students. In your youth ministry as well. I was so glad you did that. I got to know some things about them that I didn't know about these families. Who'd you interview?
I sat down and talked this week with Joelle Tidwell and Amelia Peters, two of our senior girls. They have been here as long as I have. In fact, they've been here quite a bit longer than I have.
Sure.
So it's been really cool for me as the student minister to get to see them grow up from who they were as sixth grade girls to here they are graduating off and heading off to college. So, man, really enjoyed this interview. A couple of maturing girls that I'm just looking forward to see what God wants to do with them. So we hope that you guys enjoy this interview. All grown up. Why don't you two introduce yourselves?
I'm Amelia. I'm part of the Peters family. I'm third in line after Hudson and Grant.
Is there a fourth one? Oh,
there is.
Okay.
Georgia underneath me. And like David said, I just graduated and I'm going to the U of A next year.
Awesome. Doing what?
I'm going to be a studio art major.
Cool.
My name's Joelle Tidwell, and I am the third of four children as well. And I graduated from Farmington High School and will be attending the U of A in the fall and probably doing something in secondary education. But that could change.
It can change. I got here 6 years ago, and I wish I had this in front of me, but I feel like it was like the second weekend I was here, I think. We were going to Super Summer JV, and that's when I first got to know Joelle. My first impressions of Joelle, as I remember her, I remember playing Ultimate Frisbee out on the lawn there at Washita. And I can just remember, like, the term mossing people has come out in the last few years. It's where you jump over somebody and, like, grab these. And Joelle's always had long limbs and been pretty spry and able to jump and that sort of thing. I just remember her making some 6th and 7th grade boys looking really, really bad. And I was very struck by that in the very beginning. Joelle, we talked about this earlier. What sort of first impressions did you have of me?
Yes, so since you were the new guy, I was definitely trying to take everything in and figure out who is David Powell. Right. And at some point, I don't know how it came about, but I ended up in a foot race with you right after dinner. And I got obliterated because I was a 6th grade girl, and I was like, who is this guy that would put himself up against me like that?
That's right. And that's me. And that is not the last time I found myself in foot races with students. I can't say. I don't even know why they happen, but they do. Very true. And Amelia's not on that first trip. I remember meeting actually Joelle I remember you sitting next to a friend. I think her name was Olivia that was there with you over that one. I met really got to know Amelia a little bit more. So I feel like at Boom Week, that first summer there, when I got to meet this kind of fiery young redhead at that time with like a huge personality. It's been a good time. I'm just curious. Do you remember at all any kind of first impressions of me?
No. I remember after one of your surgeries, I was talking to you in the hallway, and I was like, "What happened to you? What's wrong with your?" But other than that, I cannot remember.
That sounds about right. You two have been here the entire time I've been here. In fact, your time predates me. How long have you two been here at the church? And then when did you first get to know each other?
Yes, my family got here right after, Georgia was born in Arkansas. Okay. And so we started coming right after she was born. And me and him stayed here the whole time. And then I met Joelle when we were in preschool together. Mm-hmm. But
yeah, so I think my family's been here probably since I was 2, like right before Cooper was born. And I just always remembered being in Sunday school in pre-K with Amelia.
Mm-hmm.
All the way back. Can you remember early first impressions of each other? Is there anything like stands out from young days for you two?
I think one of the major things was just like how consistent it was seeing her.
Sure.
Right.
That it was like I just knew I was always going to see her Wednesdays, Sundays, and then with pre-K. And so then just kind of like, and obviously the red hair, like there's just something so like the redhead friend. I just always had her.
Well, do you have any like favorite like signature moments from like children's ministry days here at First Baptist? Is there anything that really stands out to you? Maybe a moment together, but it didn't have to be.
I remember one time we went to Central Kid together, and at some point my mom and I created like a hobo sack with like a little bandana and a wooden stick, and she was like, "Why don't you dare Amelia to walk to the breakfast area with this?" And we thought it was the funniest thing at the time. And so Amelia, with her short little red hair, she puts her hobo stick on and walks there. And it was just like, I mean, such a silly thing, but also just, I think represents kind of who you are, is outgoing, things like that.
One Miss Lisa has always, like, whenever we went to Center Kid trips, she always packed like Little Debbie's. And so we would go ding dong ditch people. And so we would leave them their Little Debbie, and we would just run away. And so one time we were doing it, and we knocked on these girls' door, and we left them the Little Debbie, and we ran away. And then later we were walking down the hallway, and these girls come back, and they're like, do you know who's been leaving these Little Debbies? They were like mad. They were like, who's been doing this? We were like, I don't know. And Georgia, little feisty Georgia, she's like, what's the problem? Don't you want your Little Debbie? You know?
My goodness. Georgia's how old here? Like second grade?
Yeah, she's little. But so then when we go back to our room, we tell Miss Lisa, and these girls come, knock on our door. And Miss Lisa goes to answer it, and the girls go, have you seen a little redheaded girl about yay high? She's about half crazy.
Do either one of you have like a single favorite? Well, let's talk specifically about events. So the major events that we will run in the span of any youth year generally are, we'll do a fall retreat of some sort. We'll come around February or so, and we'll be doing Disciple Now. Over spring break, we're doing Mission Arlington. In the camps, in the summertime, typically we're doing like Student Life Camp, maybe Camp Siloam, might be on a Guatemala mission trip or Utah mission trip. There might be, or even Sang Avenue. We've gone across town and done some ministry there. Is there one that really stands out through the years for either one of you? Is there like a particular week? And can you give us any substance to what that was?
I think for me, definitely the first time I went to Student Life when we were workers, like we were helping with the counselors.
So student staffing, exactly. Yes. So where our high school students get paired up to work with the college staffers there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this was Glorietta. Mm-hmm. So this would have been 2 summers ago, right? I think we just did that the last 2 years. Is that right? Mm-hmm. Can you remember any particular thing from that week that really just sticks with you?
I remember we helped with rec, and so we were running different like water course things. And I was paired with Nicholas Gebauer, and we were doing this like army crawl game. And I remember Nicholas was like, you guys can just, do it. And he was helping lead and whatever. Yeah. I was like yelling at these people to get down on the ground and crawl over some floaties to play the game right. I probably should not have yelled as much as I did, but it was a lot of fun.
But it won you an award at the end of the week,
yes,
right? Like
yes.
What's Staffer of the Week or something like that?
Volunteer
of the Week.
Yes.
Well done. Well done. Joelle, is there a particular week or weekend or experience that really stands out to you?
I mean, Mission Arlington, and really like all of them are so different that I think I take something special away from all of them. I think it's unique because you think about spring break.
Yeah.
And you go, Mission Arlington is like, it's like you doing volunteer work and carrying heavy stuff and playing with children until you're so tired. And I think if an outsider looks at that and they're like, why do people love this so much? But there's something about it that's actually really refreshing and purposeful that has, I mean, every time I do it, I come out with a different perspective that changes the way that I live.
You talked about a change in perspective from Arlington. Do you want to share anything about that?
Yeah, I think for me, I live a life where all my needs are met pretty much all the time. And then you go into these places where a lot of these people's needs are not being met in the same way in the apartment complexes that we would visit. Yeah. And I think trying to understand, so I did absolutely nothing to have the things that I have right now.
Right.
Like I was just born into it. And
yeah.
So how do you take the things that you've been given, the resources that you have, and turn around and help other people, and not in a like where you think that you're better than them, but in a way where you go, this is what I've been given. I know that all this is from God. How can I share this with you? And and more than just the resources, but also like Jesus that saves for the long run.
Absolutely.
I think also like Guatemala, there was a very extreme version of that.
Guatemala, when? Not everybody knows. You say Guatemala,
yes,
we all know that. Guatemala.
We went to Guatemala and a couple other youth students.
Yeah. So took a group of 10 last summer.
Okay. And a lot of that was going to home visits and being in a very small village where there was a lot of poverty, and working with kids who didn't speak English, who didn't have the things we have. And I think having that experience and having Arlington, it was like Guatemala, people live like this, and it was, you see those things on TV, but it was shocking to see in real life. Mm-hmm. And then Arlington, it was, this is America. Yeah. This is the same country I live in. Right. This is the state next to mine. And and
they live in an entirely different world.
Right. Yeah. And so it was eye-opening, definitely, both of those trips to see. Yeah. Not everyone lives like you. Not everyone has the things you do, like Joelle was saying.
Like, are there any particular funny moments that have come? Is there anything that just like the moment that would come to mind? You want to share?
I mean, I think about that hike we took in Guatemala. Yeah. So there was a boy that needed a Bible, and he was working in the cornfields. And so we had gone out with one of the missionaries to deliver this Bible. And going into it, we had no idea what we were getting ourselves into, and it ended up being like, I don't know, a 5-mile hike, and like straight up and straight down. And like we had this little boy from the village like leading us through, and he like had nothing, no water. He's wearing like Crocs, and he's just sprinting ahead of us. And we were like, we cannot keep up. Yeah, right. We're running out of water. What are we doing? And we finally got there, and we got back, but just kind of, it was just kind of funny how this was absolutely nothing to the people that lived there, but to us, Americans, it was a big deal and hard for us to handle.
It was also during the hike and during the times when we had to stop and wait in the sun and drink water and rehydrate. It was like, no one's going to believe this. Yeah. No one's going to believe this was happening. Also, my mother was on the trip, and it was, are we going to make it back? It was so much of, I'm going to leave her here, aren't I? No, not really. But she did it. She did a great job.
We got her all the way back, Gary.
Yes.
Good stuff. You two are seniors this year. Class of 2020, which was going to be notable, as all ministry leaders out there were thinking, hindsight is 2020 and give us a 2020 vision and whatnot. I kind of feel like 2020 is going to have a little different connotation to it going forward for all of us. So obviously you guys have graduated in the midst of the coronavirus quarantine. What have things been like?
I think a lot of it has been learning how to handle the disappointments.
Yes.
Just because anyone you talk to, they'll talk about that last semester and just, it was so much fun, and their last prom.
It really was.
Yeah.
Right.
Summer after senior year, loved it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And I think trying to find some sort of perspective that helps you go, this really stinks right now, but I know things can get better, and how do I take the time that I have now to do something, make it useful?
Yeah.
Which I think I'm still trying to figure out.
Right.
You and all the rest of
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
No doubt.
I agree. First of all, there was a lot of hype by like, oh, the summer after your senior year, it's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. You're going into college. It's a new start of life. And then also it was like 2020.
Yeah,
like everybody was like, this is the
Yes.
year that
Yeah.
everything's going to fall into place and be totally awesome. And then it was like, no, that's not what happened. And I agree with Joelle, like just being able to like learn how to use the disappointment and find the good things that are happening even within quarantine. And then, like she said, using our time wisely, which is, like you said, a struggle for everybody.
It is. Well, do you two feel like you're learning anything over the course of this? Maybe you've already hit on that in some ways. Was there like just a particular lesson maybe that God is going to teach you over the course of what this has been? Either one?
I definitely have. It was kind of crazy because my life before quarantine had been going so quick, just one thing after the next, and really busy with basketball. And then it was like over that week where everything was shutting down.
Right. So the day before you guys play your
Yes.
championship game is when everything blows
Yes.
up.
And so we're sent home.
Right.
And I think like it was kind of weird because when school was over and basketball was over, it's like, who am I? Like.
Right.
And when I don't have these things and when I'm not surrounded by these people, and realizing that a lot of my identity had been found in things that actually don't fulfill you or give you purpose, and that you can do those things with purpose given by God, but if you just do those things, then I think you kind of can get lost.
Yeah.
And they like we've learned, they can go away like that.
They can.
And then who are you? And that's
Right.
what I've been dealing with.
That's so good. Anything you want to tack on to that, Amelia?
I mean, same thing, but also like being thankful for those moments, like, and having those memories. It's a lot of, well, at least I got to do all those things. At least I got to go to all those events. At least I've been to all those, school games.
Right.
And so even I cannot do anything now, and this is not the best.
Right.
You still have those memories, and they will come again.
Yeah.
This will not last forever.
That's good. So we think kind of on the way into college here. You both going to the University of Arkansas, just right up the road here. What are your thoughts about it? What are you hopeful about? What are you nervous about? What are you curious about? What just going into it, thinking about it? You want to start out, Amelia?
Sure.
There?
I'm very, very excited, and I think because the last year has been so much of, well, what am I going to do? What's it going to be?
Yeah.
It's like more exciting to be like, I know what's going to happen. Like, not I know what's going to happen, but I know where I'm going at least.
Yeah.
And so that's really exciting. And then, I don't know, I'm hopeful that I get a relatively normal freshman experience.
Sure.
Which is probably not going to happen.
We'll see.
But
We'll see.
still. And I'm excited to live on campus and, be a part of the college ministry.
Absolutely. Cool.
Stuff like that.
Joelle?
Yeah, I definitely think, I'm really anxious to see what it's like. I think I look forward to the independence because everyone I've talked to makes it sound like there's like so much growth that happens in that first year.
Absolutely.
And just seeing the impact that'll have on me.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. How are you going to remember this place? So how will you remember youth days, like growing up in your house, under your parents' roof there? How do you think you're going to look back on this time?
Like I was saying earlier, this has just been my life. It's not like, oh, youth is like, obviously a huge part of it, but it's like
Sure.
youth is my life.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just like, it's such a blessing that I've been so plugged into that, and I will look back on it like that. Like I'm so thankful that I had those people I could go to. I had that connection. I had a place where I felt like I had a purpose, and I could go on trips and do things like that. And then I think also it's like, I'll remember that's my family.
Yeah.
Like it's like, even if I go to college, even if I'm, move on from college, go somewhere, those people will always have those memories of me, and I'll have those memories of them. And it'll be I don't think that'll ever change. Like we're a family, and that doesn't end after leaving.
That's cool. Anything you want to add on to that? It sounds like you're kind of same boat.
Yeah, definitely. And just like with youth group, but also just the church in general, like I don't really have, my family doesn't have much family over here. And so like this friendship, our family's friendship, and with multiple people in the church that's similar to this one, it's like, it is so important for us, because otherwise there would be loneliness and like trying to find community. And so the way that's impacted us is amazing.
That's cool. Well, and so your families have been close for a long time. Do you guys have a couple of traditions that go on between the Peters and the Tidwells year after year?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I believe we started when our oldest siblings were in 8th grade. Or so, I can't remember exactly. We first day of school, we always go and get ice cream together.
It's about 10-ish years ago, somewhere around there. Okay, gotcha. First day of school, going to get ice cream.
Right.
Well, cool. Anything else you do?
We also on Christmas Eve we go to Cracker Barrel and eat breakfast together. So, which another part of that, it's like Joelle's family not being here. That's why we do it all together at Christmas, because we're a family.
Yeah.
Well, so this will be a little bit of a departure for us. So next year we'll go into 2021 for the first time with just a single Peters and a single Tidwells. You guys are the third.
Babies.
That's right. The babies are taking over. So George will be a junior next year and Cooper will be a sophomore. Looking forward to that. It's been a lot of fun. And I appreciate you girls sitting down to talk with me today.
Glad to be here.
Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Well, Lance, that interview was a joy to get to do, and not just because you weren't there. Just kidding. That was the first one I've done solo. I was
there for a little bit, behind the scenes.
I see you got your glasses on. It's like you're in serious mode, ready to do some serious thinking about this.
Yeah. I got my wisdom glasses on, my old glasses on.
All right, so tell me, what did you think about the interview?
Okay.
And what did you take away from it?
I thought the interview was great. It really kind of threw me into a little nostalgia, thinking back. I did youth ministry for 18 years, and you know, boy, 2 girls and several others I know you had as well that you got to have 6th grade all the way through.
Absolutely.
You get to see them through, and what a joy, but also kind of oh my goodness, there's another class going.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
To say goodbye.
So great things took me back in that sense. Some of the things I love the question, great question that you asked, and looking forward. What do you see girls looking forward? And Joelle responded. I mean, they both had great responses, but it grabbed me. Joelle saying, you know, she shared used the word independence. Yeah, there's an independence. I like that idea. Both of them kind of embrace that.
Absolutely.
And they should.
Yeah, when you're the third born of 4, I think it's reasonable. I want to do some of my things out
independence.
there. Independence.
But within that, the independence and the words there, and looking forward to or anticipating growing awesome. In my life, things just really kind of jumped out at me, because they both knew that is something that they've heard others say it's going to happen. And we can testify to that it did happen. So I really was encouraged by that, and it just took me back to growing. What about you? You did the interview, girls that were in your youth ministry. Yeah. What's your reaction to it?
First of all, I want to echo exactly what you said with Joelle's answer on, I can't wait to see what God is going to do to me and do in me. I loved that. In addition, Amelia gave an answer, really similar thing to that. And she basically said, in looking back on the youth group time, that I'm almost directly quoting her, saying, youth has been my life.
Yeah, I remember.
And like, if you've met Amelia Peters, like, bright, vibrant girl, there's a lot more going on in her life than, like, you know, the hour and a half on a Wednesday night that we would spend up here. You know, she's big into art. Sure. Yep. She's, you know, involved in her school stuff. She's got like a lot to life. But I love what she was expressing there.
Yeah.
Because what she was saying was, this is a place where she was able to craft an identity that she was comfortable with and confident in, and she is, and was finding purpose in life. So like finding identity in Christ, this is who I am, and now learning how to live out of that identity, out into the world, and then purpose in life, in figuring out what she's going to do, understanding this is who I am. I want to honor the Lord with my life, and now what does it mean for me to take that and to go and to live that out?
Wow.
Man, I really, really enjoyed getting to just to talk with the girls.
Cool. Cool. You sharing those things, the idea of identity and purpose and the exerting independence and finding those things and anticipating growing. It caused me to think a couple questions. So I'm going to kind of maybe put you on the interview seat as the interviewee for a minute. One, youth ministry, you've been at it 13 years now. What keeps driving you back to it year after year, saying yes? So why youth ministry for you?
Absolutely. Man, this has been something that's been deep in me for a long, long time. Okay. I had this, I would almost say like dreams, visions as a young guy, even as a youth, about how God would use me someday to reach the next generation. And it's something I've really found over the years that I just love getting to be a part of the process of growth. Mm-hmm. Before 13-year-olds and 17-year-olds have sort of locked themselves into lifelong patterns, before they've made up their mind about all these things, and before they've established their habits and their routines that are going to like dictate who they are, where they go, what they do for the next 50 years, getting to be there with them in the middle of that. And speak into it and share stories, share like victories and times I absolutely fell on my face. And get to see them take some things we learned, some like experiences and stories and like biblical principles, and begin to apply those to their lives, because they're not old enough, like some of us get to the point that they stop asking themselves, what would God have me to do here? What does it mean for me to obey the Lord fully? Like can we say they're still silly enough to believe God can really use us? Like how awesome is that? And that challenges me. So that's a big part of I'm going to be very clear to say I use silly sarcastically because they get it.
I told you I had a couple questions.
Sure.
And my other question that this makes me think of, as we think back and heard from a couple girls, they're talking about their formative years and anticipating still some more to come.
Right.
We're kind of beyond what we consider those formative years.
Right.
But as you think back, as you look back at maybe high school, college, what's something that happened that's still strongly impacting you today?
Man, specific to youth group experience, there was a culture of discipleship to the youth group that I grew up in. As in, especially, older students were brought up through the years to be looking behind them at who was coming up behind them, and taking an interest. And so, like when the youth group, students would be going out to eat afterward. A lot of times, younger students would be able to grab rides with older students just to get there and to be a part. Man, there are different ones who would actually literally meet in intentional one-on-one discipleship times with younger students, and that just struck me, and it stuck with me. To the point that some of those guys even still for me have just had a lasting influence on my life. And so I kind of grew up into that as well. Just with this expectation that as I grow up, as I learn, as I'm shaped, I always need to be looking for someone to be passing that along to. And so that's something coming out of youth days for me. It's very much shaped me, and honestly, it's shaped some of how I do youth ministry and encourage my own students. I mean, how about you though?
It caused me to think about that idea of continuing to grow in your faith. The word sanctification came to mind. And also I pulled a couple of different articles that I'd read before on it. And just this idea of sanctification, growing in it. What does it mean to be growing in your faith, anticipating growth as a 36-year-old? As a 50-year-old, as a 75-year-old, anticipating growing in your faith. What does that mean? Is it there? Is it happening when the weight of the world is different for us? Sanctification. So I want to share this real quick, and then I'll let you respond to this as well. So this article that I read, sanctification was defined this way, or kind of explained this way. The Bible uses the term sanctification in a pretty definitive way, he says, indicating the holy status that we have already through our union with Christ. So because of Christ, what he did on the cross for us has made us holy. Took on that imputedness of it. The writer goes on to say, this consecrated status forms the foundation from which we grow in holiness and godliness in our lives and relationships. And then catch this, David. He says, we strive to be what we are. what we already are in Christ, sanctified, but that we strive to do that, sanctification, being growing in that as well. And so doing that as a 50-year-old.
Yeah,
what does that mean? You talked about discipleship and feeding that forward. I know here in just a few minutes at the end of this podcast, as we're recording it, you're getting ready to gather with some guys in a discipleship group. You're moving that forward. That impact of that happening in your young life, you're taking it forward.
Right.
For me, I didn't have that in youth ministry, but I just found that in my first years of youth ministry, working with some other adult men. Today, I sit with a group of men, not year-round, but for probably 30 weeks out of the year, in Bible study. One of those guys just recently, we just finished the spring semester, and we're not doing anything in the summer. And one of the things that he said to me, if we're not doing that study, I'm just being honest, I'm not studying. I'm not studying the Word as well.
Just challenged by other believers around.
But when I'm in that, and I know I'm showing up with others, and that strengthening of that. I don't know. Thoughts?
Well, man, that's where the rubber hits the road, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like that's the challenge for adults. Mm-hmm. So students have this imperative that they know they're growing. Like it's expectation. They are growing up. So like they're growing intellectually, they're growing hopefully emotionally, they're growing socially. So like it's expected that at the same time they're going to be growing spiritually. Mm-hmm. I don't know that we always carry that same expectation all the time into adult life. Like it can be easy for us to get comfortable to the point of becoming complacent, maybe even to the point of becoming apathetic and cold and calloused. I mean, that's one of these ways, honestly, that even these two specific girls, but not just these two. Some of my other graduating seniors as well, some of my other students, and then people I've got working around me continue to challenge me, to remind me that the call to follow the Lord is a daily call. Yeah. To continue to put off ungodliness and to put on righteousness. To continue to die to myself, pick up my cross daily. Yeah. Deny myself, take up my cross, and follow Jesus. And so that's something... I do not do that perfectly. Let me be very clear to say that. But week after week, year after year, I'm reminded that we're called to be following Jesus. Yeah. And so he's leading us somewhere, and primarily he's leading us to become more like himself. Yeah. And so, man, that's a crucial reminder, I think, for all of us. And that's one reason, honestly, we wanted to do this interview with a couple of students who are getting it. Just to be encouraged by the ones coming in behind us. Yeah,
so the question is, how do we continue to get it? And what does it mean? I love that response from Amelia. My church is kind of my life.
Absolutely.
And connecting with it, I mean, it's like she does life with the church.
Right.
Was what I heard.
That's right.
And I want to encourage all of us to do life with the church along the way. As one of the guys in the Bible study I get to be a part of so most weeks out of the year, as he said, I'm not doing those things as well unless I'm doing it with you guys. Walking alongside you as well. So challenging times to be able to do together in the church for sure, but we can. So keep checking in to Zoom meetings, Zoom Bible studies, online Bible studies and things, and get in the Word together. You can pick up a phone and share your thoughts about the Word with other folks. I hope
phones still make phone calls, from what I understand.
Phones do
like
make
they still do that among all these other functions that have been picked up. So man, absolutely,
for sure. So connect with the church. And speaking of church, there are kind of church happenings. What's going on? It's kind of hard to point to specific things in these times right now that are happening. But I can tell you, Sunday school, obviously we've been online for a while. Jump into that. Keep joining us for Sunday school. And the Word, there's some place to get interactive there. But we are looking towards August.
There's light at the end of the tunnel,
Light at the end of the tunnel to gather together, hopefully. So we are looking at August, August the 9th in particular, that we would gather in person for Sunday school. So looking forward to that. All right. Well,
you guys have a great week.
Thanks for checking in with us. All right.